Hello and welcome to the Can I Retire Now podcast with your hosts, Nick Russell and Becky Wagner. I'm your podcast producer, RJ Malik. Right now, here is Nick Russell.
Welcome back to part 2 of my conversation with Dr. Ara Suppiah. In part 1, we covered the functional sports matrix as well as key aspects to consider while you age. Part 2, we dive into nutrition, multivitamins, even plant-based diets and how they affect your energy. Hope you enjoy. I want to talk about food. I want to talk about, you mentioned, we talked about vitamins a little bit, but there's a lot of like myths. And I don't know, this is me, right? You're on Instagram, you're on TikTok, whoever's on social media, you're scrolling through and, depending on your algorithm, every third reel or something is like, hey, an ad for you should take this medicine or you should take this vitamin or you're not sleeping well. Are there like some obvious myths or fallacies that like people think of when they think of supplements and nutrition or
No, couple of very simple guidelines, right? Think of it this way. Calories are king.
Calories are king.
Yeah.
Calories the thing that if you want to lose weight, you need less of.
The calories is what your body will need more than anything else. So like if you are in famine situations, it needs calories. Whether it's good food, bad food, like food has no moral judgment, right? The body needs calories. So why is it, Michael Phelps, when he was training, not the Olympics, the one before, he was burning about 10,000 calories a day. And he was eating pizzas, hot dogs, like whatever he could eat.
Yeah, how come he can eat hot dogs and pizza?
Because he needs to fulfill that calorie requirement. Otherwise, he's going to break down. He's going to get sick. When I worked in the UK, there was a project where the special forces were doing training in the Sahara, and they did 1 marathon a day in the Sahara, carrying their own backpack. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And they couldn't keep up with the calorie requirement. They would literally have Mars bars in a can that would melt in the heat, and they would just scoop it up and eat it because that's the way to get calories. So if you don't get enough calories, okay, women, menstrual cycle will stop.
Wow.
Bone density will go down.
Okay.
Thyroid will slow down. If you don't get enough calories, that's what's going to happen. So calories are king. No matter what you do, make sure you're getting your basic calorie requirement.
Which, is there a number? Is there?
Yeah, you can. If you go and calculate it, there's a formula. It's called the Benedict. For those who are interested, call it Benedict equation. If you type in Benedict equation, calorie requirements, it'll tell you, right? You can also get it measured very, very easily nowadays. But you have a baseline calorie requirement that you have to meet. Okay? So the mistake I see is people who are trying to lose weight, they go below that.
Yeah.
Your body needs that to survive. If it goes below that, it's going to say, you're killing me. I'm going to slow down the thyroid. You're not going to burn the fat because you're killing me.
I was going to say, and if you slow down your thyroid, you're not burning fat anyway. You're not going to lose weight. Okay.
So calories are king. Okay. If most of us are eating way more than we need. So cutting back on calories means cutting back to your baseline calorie. Don't make that mistake. Don't go lower than that.
So if my baseline is 1,800 calories.
1,800, you need to hit 1,800.
Okay. But I shouldn't eat 4,000 calories.
If you eat 4,000, you're going to be overweight.
Okay.
So calories are king. Calories will determine what you weigh.
Okay.
All right. Macros, your carbs, your proteins, your fats, your fiber.
Okay.
Will determine how you look. Yeah.
Okay.
Six pack, no six pack.
No
right?
six pack.
Okay. Macros.
How do we get the six pack? Can we cover that?
We can cover that. It's a whole different.
Thank you. Be so happy about that. Okay. So macros, which you said protein,
fats,
carbs, and fiber.
Yeah.
Okay.
People forget fiber. And then micros, which is all the micronutrients.
Okay.
Selenium, copper, magnesium, vitamins, all those things will determine how you feel.
Okay.
Right? So in any supplement, whatever you want to do, you got to see where that goes in. So if it's a protein shake, calories, Yeah. Is it going to add to your calories? Is it going to take down the calories? How are you going to adjust for that? Okay, I'm getting my proteins. Is that enough? What am I trying to look like? Why do I need this protein? Okay. And then, does that protein have any of the macros? Am I getting the macros with the protein? So when I think of nutrition, when I look at any supplement, when I look at that, I always put it in that bucket. And I go, where, if I get a can of multivitamins, does it give me any calories? No. Okay. Does it have any macros? No. Okay. It's purely micros. Okay. So this will determine how I feel. Do I feel good as it is? Yes. Then taking this, I'm going to run the risk of putting more stuff in my body that it has to eliminate that may not give me much bang for the buck.
Okay. So there is an opportunity to, I don't want to say like overdose, but like add more into your body via like a multivitamin than you actually need.
Correct. Like people,
it makes your body work harder, I guess, to get rid of it, or
no, but like taking too much, amino acids, branch chain amino acids, taking too much vitamin B's. Your body has to keep a balance. It's really clever. It's very good at keeping a balance. If you give it too much, you'll say, "One idiot. I got to get rid of it. I got to reestablish balance."
And I've heard things like you can take too much vitamin C and stuff, and it like upset your stomach. And
it can, Those are like, that's more like side effects.
Yeah.
But so whenever I look at something like that, I'm very, I'm very clear about, okay, where does this sit? What problem is this addressing? It's a bit like going to IKEA. If you go to IKEA and you don't have a clear list, you will see something and you'll be like, oh, I know where that can go. I can go in that corner. That corner never needed anything until you saw the damn thing in IKEA, right? It's the same thing. Go on Instagram. All of a sudden you look at it and go, I totally could use that.
Yeah.
Could you though?
Who doesn't need more selenium?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, come on.
So my question is like, what problem are you solving? Or are you being tempted and duped into doing something you shouldn't be doing? Or you don't need to do? Right? Okay. Having said all that, there's a few concepts I'll share with you, right? One is make sure, like, I think a good multivitamin in today's age is very good because the quality of our foods, the lifestyle is a bit harsh, and you don't want to run low on the small things that you can't really measure.
So I have a question about multivitamins, which was on my list. I heard years ago, and it's one of those things you hear. I don't know where I heard it from, and it lives rent-free in my brain, that if you're taking a multivitamin, you should never take a tablet. It should always be a powdered form or granule or something, because those tablets are heat pressed when they manufacture them, and it burns off like the efficacy of the vitamins.
Partly true, yes. So okay. Powder form is superior.
Okay, powder form would be the best.
Ideal. Right. Okay. They can cold press the tablets can be manufactured in a way that's very good. So there are some companies, Thorne, Clean Athlete, even doTERRA, the essential oil company, has a multivitamin, very good products. Okay. The ones that you want to watch out for are the ones that are like, 24-hour release and all that kind of stuff. Because what they do is they bind it with fillers that prevents it from breaking down immediately and breaks down slowly over a period of time. And a lot of those that you'll see, like Thorne is a really good product. They do an AM and a PM. But people don't want to take 2 tablets. So they want a convenient and take one and forget about it, right?
You mean people want to just be healthy and not take 2 pills?
Yeah. So anyway, if you take in that form that is a slow release, it has a lot of binders. A lot of the binders come from the corn industry. The leftover parts of the corn get used to get fillers and binders.
Okay.
So that's why that thing is. So it's not a myth, but not all. That's not universally true. You can do the work and find it. So a good multivitamin and multimineral, I think, it's important.
Okay.
Especially if you travel.
And travel.
Yes, especially if you travel, especially if you can't be consistent with the type of food you're getting, and you're eating food from everywhere.
Oh, so the travel part was because of the food.
Yes.
Not because of like you get on a plane and you're around other people. Okay.
Number 2, really important, omega-3s, which is your fish oil.
Fish oils.
Or krill oil, right? We were at a time, there's omega-3s, again, simplifying this, which is anti-inflammatory, and omega-6, which is pro-inflammatory. Okay? The body needs both.
I was going to say, why would we? Oh, because
the body needs both.
We need some
the body needs,
response.
Yeah. Again, you can't just say, I don't want inflammation, you'll die. But omega-6 has profound functions in the body, especially in the brain, the nervous system. You need both. You absolutely need both.
The first time I've ever heard someone say you need potentially more inflammation. Not more inflammation, but more.
But you need both.
Yeah.
That's why they exist. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist. The body needs both. Okay, there's also omega-9. Okay. But let's take 3 and 6, okay? One's pro-inflammatory, one's anti-inflammatory, for simplicity. Okay. Back in the day, hunter-gatherers, ratio was 1:1.
Okay.
Okay. We then went to 1:4. Nowadays, it's 1:20.
Whoa. Okay.
That's the diet right now. So in order to rebalance this,
and that's coming naturally through our food, like what we're
processed foods, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Convenient foods.
Yeah.
Manufacturing practices. You can either bring this down or you can raise this up.
Oh, will that counter that naturally?
Yeah. Okay. So that ratio is one of the blood tests we did today.
Oh,
to see what your omega-3 index is and to look at your omega-3 to omega-6 ratio.
So if I'm 1:1,
if you're 1:1, you're amazing. You don't need anything. Okay. But most of us are not, right? Okay. So in today's age, a good quality omega-3, and again, I'm not sponsored by anyone, so like a Nordic Naturals, really good omega-3s. Carson's is also a very good omega-3. Those are something that I really like to add to your multivitamin.
And you mentioned like a good vitamin. Like if you go to Target, Walmart, whatever, you get like store brand, vitamin.
Yeah, they're usually not well made.
I was gonna say, what's the issue there? Is it that they're not?
A lot of them have a lot of fillers and binders.
It's that kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay, so it's not just purely what.
Correct. Where do they source the ingredients from? All those things come into play.
We're covering a lot today, so I want to cover a couple more things, and then maybe we'll have you back on because I think I have a list of things I want to cover with you, and you're making me think of all these.
The market needs to be better than where it is right now.
Yeah,
I'm not coming back.
we'll get the market will start to recover. We'll be repeat guests here. We've talked a little bit about nutrition, about supplements. I think that I was vegetarian for a long time, and I'm a pescatarian now, so I'll eat fish. And I've always felt like at some point since I made that decision, I resolved some of the issues I was dealing with. Some of had trouble sleeping, and digestive stuff. And I'm not a doctor. And one of the reasons why I had you draw my blood and everything today was that I always feel like I'm missing something. Like if I wake up in the morning and I'm already tired, like I feel like, oh, that must be because I'm missing some kind of nutrient.
Could be. I mean, first of all, I would say, are you making sure you're having your calories, enough calories? Number one, right? Number two, if you feel tired, that's a feel thing. Are you making sure you get your micros in? And then, pescatarians are fine, but with vegans, my mom's a vegan. And so plants, the proteins, they don't have the full spectrum of amino acids. Okay. So if you eat one type of plant protein,
like pea protein is really common, or you're talking about even black beans or
anything. Okay. If you look at beans, okay, like black beans, it has a spectrum of amino acids that is often not the complete spectrum. Okay. So if that is your only source of protein as a vegan, you're going to run short.
So
you're going to run low. So as a vegan, what you need to do is have multiple sources. So that's why if you look at a vegan-based protein powder, they will have rice protein, pea protein, right?
So they're trying to cover all
those. Put a whole blend of them together as a blend, as a variety, you get the full spectrum of amino acids.
Okay.
So you can get the full spectrum, just like with animals, with animal protein, except you need to be very vigilant and be very good at like making sure you cover the whole spectrum.
Yeah. Don't just eat a burger. In this case, you're going to like be just more thoughtful about where you're getting your amino acids. And I honestly have never thought about amino acids before today.
Yeah, that's why that's the whole protein conversation with, can the vegan get all the protein? Yeah, you can. A lot of professional athletes are vegan. Not a lot, but.
Well, the world's strongest man right now.
It's a vegan.
It's vegan. Yeah. I mean, so you can definitely get the strength and the protein you need.
I know very good, world champion triathlete who was a vegan.
Yeah, and so I've heard things like, you need to consume a certain amount of, let's pick protein a day based on your weight, your BMI or whatever. Because as it breaks down, it's more sustained energy as opposed to carbs that are, burned hot and fast.
Proteins are building blocks. So you need proteins, full stop. As part of your macros, you need protein, right? Most of us need 0.5 grams per kilogram of body weight.
I'm sorry, can you put that in American?
If you weigh
grams and kilograms.
If you weigh 70 kilograms, right?
How are you doing this to me?
No, I'm just telling you, like that's what all the metrics.
Okay. So 70 kilograms,
which will be about 160 pounds.
Okay.
You need 0.5, so you need 35 grams
of protein
a day
if you weigh 160. So basically,
like a quarter.
Burn through your body efficiently for a 24-hour period.
That's like your basic calorie requirement. That's your basic protein requirement.
Okay.
If you're training harder, if you're lifting heavier, if you have a tendency, you want to put muscle mass on, if you're trying to change that, then you need to go up to like 0.7 up to a gram of protein per body weight. Okay. And you take it and you consume that over multiple sittings.
Assuming that you're training, like you said, your macros, you're changing how you look.
Yes,
right?
Correct.
So is there a downside? Like if I weigh about 180, so based on that math, let's call it 40 grams. I'm not going to do the conversion in my head.
Yeah.
What if I took I consumed 100 grams of protein a day, but I wasn't working out?
Okay, then what happens is you have an excess protein. Protein gets broken down in the body to something called nitrogen. And nitrogen gets converted to something else called effectively excess nitrogen will make you inflamed. So you will see acne, bloating. They have like a funny smell to the body. Like you'll see people who consume way too much protein, they'll have that look.
So if I consume too much protein for effectively what I'm burning, right? Like, so, I sit from a computer for 8 hours a day, right? This is the extent of my movement.
That's right.
Day.
You don't need.
I'm not pumping iron.
No.
But if I consumed too much protein, it could actually create inflation. Inflammation. Sorry. Occupational hazard.
You're there.
Like it's happening. Inflation. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So too much of, like I said, the body's very smart. Like if it doesn't need it, it's gonna say, "Why are you giving me all this?"
So let me ask you one final question, because you've spent a ton of time with me today, and I know you're a very busy guy.
That's all right.
And I definitely want to continue this conversation.
Okay.
Because like I said, I have a whole bunch of stuff we didn't cover. But is there? So let's say I'm somebody listening to this, right? Or even I'm putting myself in their shoes because I don't know what you know, right? So when I approach working with clients, or even the idea of this podcast was to be able to provide information to people that don't know the information, whether it's basic how to budget or how to save for retirement or something health related.
Yeah.
If I'm out there and I go, hey, I want to know that, have an idea, like some of this stuff, like what should my macros be? How much amino acids should I be taking? Like, are there good resources out there, or are there resources you would recommend that would help you? Because if they can't go to their doctor and say, hey, do this.
Yeah.
And to be honest, there's so much information online.
Yeah.
And like my industry, probably half of it's great and half it's
yeah. And then it's what's facts, what's opinions.
Yeah, what's opinions,
right?
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of it. So I wrote a book called Lose Weight and Feel Great. It's in Amazon. That has a lot of what I just covered. It's dated. The book was released in 2014. But as founding principles, that book is a great resource.
Okay.
Because it covers a lot of the stuff.
What was it called again?
Lose Weight and Feel Great.
Lose Weight and Feel Great.
Yeah. I didn't want to put losing weight in the title, but my editor at that time said, like, you have to put this in here, otherwise people won't read it.
Yeah, because it's probably like the number one thing right now. You're probably getting more, like, look, I'd like to lose a couple of pounds, but I'd like to feel better. Yeah. That's always been my thing is I don't care what number the scale says. I want to feel good and energetic. Yeah, we cover a lot about supplements, eating for, like even looking at the simple ways to look at how you can, what type of foods you should eat, talk about the glycemic index, how to keep your blood sugar under control, how to read a food label. Okay. So like that kind of stuff. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Because if I'm out in the grocery store, and thank God Becky shops for us, because she'll send me to the grocery store like once in a blue moon. And I'm like, amazing. After almost 5 years of marriage, all of a sudden I'm like, what is this? Where is everything? I just go up to the first person in a blue shirt and I'm like, where is the thing I need? No, you're a disgrace. Yeah, no, if she doesn't tell me like I need the 8-ounce can, I'm looking, there's so many options for this. So yeah, no, it's embarrassing. Yeah. So she doesn't even bother with me. But like reading a food label, understanding like, is this something like, I think we all know that processed food has gotten like, even this concept of processed food, right? Like it's extremely non-specific thing to say. If like everything is literally processed. If I ferment a grain, that's processing the grain. Okay. If I take that grain to a mill and ground it out to flour, that's processing it. Yeah. Right? Like when you say process, what you know what I think there's a difference between synthetic, artificial, like bleached, enriched flour, correct? Like that kind of stuff you see on a label. Correct. I see that on a label, and like so my. Some people are sweets people. Yeah. I know you like a good sweet. I'm a salty guy. Yeah. So like if there are chips in the house, I am engulfing them. I'm emptying the bag. Yep. So, but kudos to Tostitos. Their original Tostitos chips have 3 ingredients. That's amazing. See? It's corn, the oil that they use, and salt. That's it. Yeah. Right? So I feel good. You go to a Tostitos brand, the little scoops or something else. All of a sudden, there's 53 ingredients, none of which I recognize. Correct. Like, so see, like that scares me. There's a difference between process, right? Yeah. So that's what I think of when I say process. That's what I'm thinking of. So I think the word process, what we mean is oftentimes packaged, but even packaged, right? Like when you really look at the industry and speak to chefs, they'll tell you frozen peas in a bag is actually what they're cooking. I've heard that about, so I've heard frozen fish even is phenomenal to use. They get it and they freeze it immediately. So all the nutrients are kept tight and it's super fresh. Yeah. And they cannot get it fresher than that when they buy it from the farmers and they bring it over and sits in the truck and then blah, blah, blah. Yeah, then it sits at the store. Most people are like, no, give me that because it's frozen immediately. Wow. Yeah. So, I've sat on some advisory boards on some supplement companies. If I had another life, I'd either be a photographer or a chef. I love both those fields. And so preparing foods and understanding why would a chef use this? Yeah. Versus that, right? When you speak to them, they're like, oh no, because of this. And like, you're like, wow, I never knew that. Yeah. It's like a science behind it. Yeah, the whole thing is extremely fascinating. So I could keep you here for like 2 more hours. No, I can't. I was like, you have other people to say. So first, I'm endlessly grateful. Yeah, thank you, Ara, for all the things you've done for me. Of course, we talked about this before. I think I mentioned to you about my book, the book I told you to read, right? Yeah. Die with Zero. I think, which by the way, say Dying with Zero, phenomenal. I did. Yeah, I would highly recommend it. Yeah. So, and for those who don't know, the premise of the book is, at any given time, you have 3 things. You have your health, you have your finances, and you have time
left on this earth, right? So when you're younger, you have plenty of time, plenty of health, no money.
No money. Yeah.
Right? So with time and health, even if you take a loan, it sounds ridiculous, counterintuitive, everything my mom ever told me, like save money, don't spend it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's when you want to go experience as many things as you can. Like if you're trying to climb Kilimanjaro or Mount Everest or something, you can't do it when you're 70 years old. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
Right? So take the loan, be a little bit broke, but go get the experiences in that life. Right?
It's such a paradigm shift.
Such a paradigm.
Yeah.
Right? And then when you are later in life, when you have, still significant amount of time, still pretty good health, right? But not as great as when you were 18, right? But now you have a little bit more money. You have to switch it around and just, again, focus on spending it on like experiences that are a little bit more plush, because you had the...
Now you have a little bit of money, yeah.
Right? And then later on in life is what really got me, because like I feel like I'm heading that way. And so you don't have much time.
Yeah.
You don't have much health. And you have plenty of money, like ideally, right? And I think that a lot of your audience will fall in that grab.
Yeah.
In that bracket, you want to spend your money on maximizing your health so that you can maximize how you use the time you have left.
It's like gives me goosebumps to think about that. Yeah, it's so true. Because
you can't take that to your grave. You cannot take the money to your grave. If you heard it, but until you get sick, it never lands.
Yeah.
And then when you get sick, you're like, you've known us all along. That is coming. Like whether we like it or not,
there's something psychologically where people don't want to think about it. You're absolutely right. A parent passes away. All of a sudden, a client of mine, like it clicks, and they go, "Whoa, okay, maybe I should be doing this."
You can't take it with you.
Yeah.
But what you can take with you are memories, and what you can leave are memories, significant memories, right? And so, if you can at this point maximize your health, and the way the medical industry is going, for those who can afford it, you can have really good quality and actually extend a little bit more of your lifespan.
Yeah.
Right? We've never reversed aging, but we can slow it down. To some extent, right? So spend the time on your health. Spend the money on your health. Spend the money in extending the time you have. And then use that extended time and the health to do what you could have done when you were 18.
Yeah.
Live and enjoy things like to the fullest.
Yeah.
Do the ridiculous stuff that makes no financial sense because you have the money. You can't take it with you.
Hey, so I have some clients who I hope are listening to this, because I've said this to them. Like, I'm not going to bury you with the money. Spend it. If you're going to go take a trip.
Spend it.
And again, financially, I'm the financial advisor. I give you the okay.
Yeah.
Get a first class ticket.
Yes.
I've never flown first class.
Yeah.
If I was at that point in life and like I had just a successful,
buy the best seat in a concert or an
theater.
Go eat in a restaurant, and even if you like, if that's not your thing, whatever your thing is,
do it to the max.
Yes. Yeah. If you like, I mentioned photography. I will go and take a private lesson with a world-renowned photographer to learn.
That'd be awesome.
Things.
Yeah.
You know what?
By the way, we should do that together, because I would love to take a photography class.
Same thing. Like, cooking.
Yeah.
I have the money. I cannot, like, if I died with a bunch of money in the bank and gave it to someone else, great, but they get to live. I've lost out.
Ask me when we're offline. Becky started watching this show where they do, I think in Julia Child's kitchen over in England. It's a week long. You stay there on property with the chefs. It's pricey. The price tag kind of caught her a little bit, but I told her, I was like, same thing as you. That's a life-changing experience that you will never forget.
Oh my God.
I would rather have you do that than us spend money on other things. Right?
Like I'm a big tennis buff. I've gone and stayed and splurged on like big tennis academies. I couldn't do that when I was a kid. I didn't have the money, but I have the money now. And if I don't do it now, when am I going to do this, dude?
So a good lesson for people, like, start saving when you're younger, spend, still do the experiences. But so now as you get to this next phase of life.
Yeah.
You have some money to enjoy.
Yeah.
It's not all about playing for tomorrow. I use this phrase a lot with clients. I don't want anybody living in a cardboard box today so they can enjoy retirement tomorrow.
And there's no guarantee.
Yeah, because
there is no guarantee.
Yeah.
There is I working in the ER reminds me every day how fragile. Yeah, oh man, I can start crying. Like, it is fragile. It is extremely fragile. And the biggest mistake you're gonna do is take it for granted.
All right. I'm gonna call it there then. We'll call it there. Ara, hey.
My pleasure, brother.
Hey, you're the best. I want to cover some of the questions I had for you.
Okay.
We just talked this whole time, and it was beautiful. And
Yeah.
I value your time. I appreciate
We'll
you.
do it again.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening. For everybody,
Any questions? If you want to hit me up, don't go to Instagram because you are Nick's people. I'm going to go to support@functionalsportsmedicine.com. Okay. You'll go to my assistant. And if you put in the heading Nick's audience and you have some questions, I tell you what I'll do on my travels. When I get that, don't expect an immediate answer. It's not going to happen.
I was going to say, I read your CV. People understand, I can't believe you sat here this long.
I will get to you.
Hey, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because that we just talked about time, money, health. That's a lot of time, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, but I like doing that.
So I will put a couple things in the notes up on our website. Ara's book, the Die with Zero that we had talked about, so everybody has reference to that. All of that will be on sunrisewealthadvisors.com. Obviously, we're on all the social medias and all that. And Ara was nice enough to share his information. So thank you. And hey, we'll do this again in the future.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Nick, and looking forward to your next podcast. And thank you for listening to today's Can I Retire Now podcast. Until next time, for Nick and Becky, I'm RJ Malik.